And first item is the approval of the minutes. We have a motion to approve the agenda. Sorry, not the minutes, but the agenda.
It reads that the agenda be approved as
Need a mover? Jim, and Jamie will second it. All in favor of the motion? Is carried. Next, we have the minutes of the previous meeting. The motion to adopt the minutes, please.
It reads that the minutes of the meeting held September 28th, 2023 be adopted as presented.
Mover, Jamie, and then Jim. Thank you. And then we'll, all in favor of the motion is carried. Next, we have the items for discussion, and we'll start with 6.1, the OPP report in July to September 2023. And I'll ask Mark if he'd start us off.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'll just start by bringing you over to page 2 of my report. And just to highlight that I'm happy to report that we have received a grant for $120,000 for the Victim Services grant for the calendar year of 2023-2024. This was a grant that we wrote in collaboration with Victim Services of SDG and Akwesasne, along with the Cornwall Community Police Service. The grant's focus is on assisting victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, human trafficking, and also cyber sex crimes. The main premise behind the grant, and probably the most funds, will be to have a victim advocate. And a victim advocate will be an employee of Victim Services that will be working directly within the detachment. And she will, or they will, provide longer-term services to victims of crime outside of what Victim Services' regular mandate is. So a lot of for your and the board's attention, a lot of Victim Services are very short-term and acute. This position actually sort of fills that gap, where any victims of those crimes that I've described will be connected with the victim advocate, and they will take them from the onset that they come forward to the police till whatever period in time those services are no longer needed. And it'll sort of be a more wraparound. One of the goals of the victim advocate, not only to provide victims with additional services, but it is also actually to relieve officer time. So a lot of time the officers will get calls from victims of crimes asking for court updates. Hey, I need this. What about that? Can I get this? Can I do that? Can I do that? Really those, because we already have an existing relationship and memorandum of understanding with Victim Services about the information and services that we can share, the victim advocate will be looking after all of that for us. So she will, she's already been hired, so I use the term she, but Desiree will really be looking after that total wraparound services she'll be providing to victims. So she has been hired on a 1-year contract by Victim Services. Victim Services has already forwarded on the purchase of service agreement to the counties. Although the grant is for the 2023-2024 cycle, and there's only about 5.5 months left in that fiscal year, we have received assurances from the ministry that the money needs to be spent in the fiscal year, but that our actual results from the grant we'll be able to report later on. They will be giving us an extension. I will meet with the grant's main facilitator from the ministry when I'm in the Toronto area in November, and he and I will discuss specific dates for extended reporting. So very, very pleased to announce that. Something that was not in my report, but I would like to bring to the board's very quick attention, is about a week after that, we received notification, and you'll see this in my wrap-up, that we were the recipients of the Mobile Crisis Response Team Enhancement Grant again. And I can provide a few more details in there, but that will be for $45,000 as well. Just bring your attention to pages 3 and 4, always highlighting the wonderful work that the members of our auxiliary unit continue to do. Obviously, you can see that through July, August, and September, those are some of our busiest months, and they were involved in a tremendous amount of community-based activities. for you, Mr. Chair, and I'm sure I've said this before, you know, although the auxiliary are not, they're not paid employees of the OPP, they do it all volunteer. So the success of our detachment and the successes that we demonstrate, especially in our community activities, have a tremendous amount to do with the auxiliary unit. You know, we rely on them very, very heavily to assist us with a lot of those things. And we are very, very proud. You know, you can see everything that they did in those 3 months. And our auxiliary unit continues to be one of the busiest, not only in East Region, but across the province in being engaged in those community-based activities. I did certainly attach, and I've started this sort of as a new over the past couple of months, and then, Mr. Chair, I will defer to you and to the board for some feedback about this, but I wanted to give a little more visual context, you know, rather than just I'm a guy who likes pictures, and you know, picture sometimes tells 1,000 words, and I thought I would start highlighting not only some of the operational things, but some of the other things that are going on in the community, major seizures, anything that we are reporting, just in case the board has any questions. I thought I picked a couple of very unique things, as you can see here on page 8. This is actually at the 401, right past Boundary Road, where the CN crossing is. So that was a tractor trailer that had left the traveled portion of the highway, had gone through the ditch, and had landed on its wheels on the CN tracks below. The driver was not injured, and the tracks weren't damaged. We and CN were extremely fortunate that happened. But that is quite the recovery they had to make, and we are very, very fortunate, and so is CN, because had those tracks needed to be repaired, it's, you know, it's not cutting a piece, it's not like you just cut a piece out and you put it back together. There's quite a process to repairing that. So just sort of highlighting some of the things through some pictures of some of the great work. You know, I always would like to highlight again the work that the auxiliary unit is doing, just demonstrating that they are out in the community and how much of an important part they are. And at the end of September 30th, demonstrating our commitment to truth and reconciliation, some of the activities that we participated in and how we showed our support. So myself on page 12, myself and Sergeant Hart were asked to return this year to be volunteers of the day to help out with the activities that they had at Lamoureux Park. We are slowly working towards building that trust and confidence with the group, and that we will eventually move towards wearing something that demonstrates that we work for the OPP and getting to our uniform. But right now we are very sensitive to, you know, that this isn't about the police. This is about about building relationships and trust and confidence. And just the mere fact that we have been re-invited to attend on 2 years in a row and be part of the volunteer group that helps, that really helps set up the day's festivities is quite an honor. So we're moving in that direction. Bring your attention to page 13. There were 4 traffic campaigns between July and September, which I did mention on the first page of my report. Very successful results. No fatal motor vehicle collisions, no serious PIs or personal injury motor vehicle collisions during those campaigns. And in 2 of the 4 of them, we led the East Region in total traffic stops and traffic activities. And that would flow nicely into page 14, where you see there's a 50% reduction in the number of fatal motor vehicle collisions and a 22% reduction in personal injury motor vehicle collisions. As I've said to you, Mr. Chair, and I've said to the board on numerous occasions, you know, this is the metric I use. It's not the amount of tickets we give. It's not the amount of rides that we do. It's not the amount of arrests that we have. This is the metric that I use to demonstrate traffic safety. You know, are we trending in the right direction? And when we are not trending in the right direction, when these numbers are not going down, do I know do I have a causal factor for them? And I'm happy to say that, we're trending in the right direction, but there is no one causal factor. It's not impaired driving. People are wearing their seatbelts. People are getting off their cell phones. So those are all very positive things. I truly believe in the 3 E's when it comes to traffic safety, which are engagement, education, and enforcement, with the ultimate goal of changing driver behavior for safer roads. Again, I always highlight in my report and my year-end report, the 138 is our nemesis. We have to be on that highway constantly, enforcing it. But the results are showing, right? The collisions that we are having on that highway are animal-related, wildlife-related. They're not driver behavior ones. Our calls for service on the 138 for dangerous drivers are coming down. And as I reported in during our last meeting, our relationship with MTO, I have gotten MTO to agree to spend a little extra money on assisting with signage. So there are electronic signs being deployed at my request. So not all the time, so they become commonplace and people forget about them, but we pick strategic times of the year to deploy the signs. So in another 2 weeks, you're going to see the electronic signs come out again, because the winter weather is about to change, and we want to start reminding people immediately that are using the 138, their driving needs to change, right, as soon as the weather changes. So we want to get that out there, but then we want to remove them. Like, we don't want them to stay commonplace. I believe I asked the question last time of yourself and the board, how many signs there were up and down the 138? When MTO asked me, I didn't even know. There are actually 16 signs, 8 on each end of the 138 with different safety tips. I travel the 138 every single day to come home to and from work. I had no idea. Until they told me, and I counted them myself, and I said, hey, where are those signs? Like, I remember the one at the start and the finish, but where are the rest of them? So, again, we are employing every tool in our toolbox. Yes. The digital signs, so they have some effect. Probably the most effective one is our speed sign, which is currently being repaired and refurbished at the moment. They do have some effect, but they become common practice. They become common where people see them, people take note of them, but they don't really do anything about it. They just become another landmark that people, oh yeah, the speed sign's there. I've seen it, but I don't really ever pay attention to it. We have found that the most effective ones are the ones we can move around, because again, it doesn't become commonplace for people. It's a consistent reminder, and it also, gives the motoring public at least the perception that we are monitoring their speeds in some way. Yeah, I would say that's our most effective tool. As you can see, just bringing you over to page 15 again, when we look at the contributing factors, you can see that there's no cause for the collisions or fatal or personal injury motor vehicle collisions that we've had. There's no specific causal factors, especially the big four. So again, that tells me that when we look at page 16, in collaboration, and particularly the traffic safety activities, when we look at those, the number of traffic stops and the number of rides, they're both up, not only in the quarter, but year over year. That means that those 3 E's that I talked about are having the positive effect that we want, right? That change of driver behavior, that reduction in calls for service. And that's really what we want. Just bring your, again, bring your attention over to page 17, I believe it is. Just looking, one thing that obviously jumps off the page again is always that have stolen goods year over year. We're up 131.6%. The have stolen goods, Mr. Chair, just to remind you, are not occurrences where people are reporting thefts. They are recovered stolen goods within our area, and they all have to do with those stolen motor vehicles. And the net that is SDG, right? It's our geographic location along with excellent police work that is causing that one to come up. As I've mentioned on multiple occasions, it is a multi-jurisdictional, interprovincial problem that we are tackling, but it's going to take some time to get some positive results and for that number to start to trend down. I'd like to also highlight on page 17, I believe I'm at, just in the clearance rates, very important to me, that our clearance rate has significantly gone up for the quarter and continues to trend upwards. So we are well above the provincial average for clearance rate, and that's only getting better. So when we talk about clearance rates, Mr. Chair, these are the amount of calls where we identify a suspect or we have charged somebody, and part of that clearance rate going up has to do with us taking a better look at our reporting and ensuring that we are reporting them very accurately. And then when you look at the bottom, ensuring that the number of calls that are actually unfounded are actually very, very few. So that number should be trending down at all times. And over the next 2 years, I hope that you only see it going down and down and down year over year and within quarter after quarter, because that means that we are properly classifying the calls and that we are properly clearing them. So it really helps those clearance rates and really demonstrates the proper work that the officers are doing when they receive those calls for service. In the past, the unfounded has sort of been the catch-all where, oh, well, I didn't charge anybody, so we're just going to clear it as unfounded. That's not accurate. That's not accurate, and that's not proper reporting. A suspect may be identified, but we may have a victim that doesn't choose to proceed with charges. That is often the case, and we have a proper way to clear that, and it actually goes towards our clearance rate. We may have a suspect that is identified, but we may not have the grounds to charge them. We have other ways, or the suspect may be deceased or fall not in the proper category. Or we even have a category where we have a suspect, we have grounds to lay a charge, but the Crown has told us, the Crown has gone to us and basically said, it's one of the offenses that requires ministry approval, and the ministry is not approving a charge. So there are certain offenses that require ministry approval where the Crown will tell the police whether we're laying a charge or not, and so those may skew our results as well. Bring you over to just the billing summary, Mr. Chair. I want to highlight, as I always do, the amount of sexual assaults reported to the detachment continue to trend up. I've said it multiple times. It is a huge problem. We really are trying to dig down and find out what are the actual causal factors. We are looking at victims that are reporting. We are looking at all sorts of statistics. Age being one of them as well. So we are always looking at that one. But when I look at the overall, and I continue to see those numbers, quarter after quarter after quarter going up, We are really trying to drill down and figure out why that continues to trend upward in that fashion. And Mr. Chair, there is nothing else within the calls for service billing report that sticks out particularly to me, and that would be the conclusion of my report, pending any questions from yourself or anyone else from the board.
Thanks, Mark. Jamie?
Just going back to the sexual assaults and the rise, do you think it's more because there's more services available for men or women that are being sexually assaulted, that, you know, that's why the reporting has gone up? You know, I'm just wondering, is there a correlation to that? Or is it just occurring more often? Because, you know, a lot of times in you know, say 20 years ago, none of that was ever reported, right? So I'm just wondering if that's a case of there's more services available for people who are being abused to come forward. I would not want to give a definitive answer on that one. What I can agree with you absolutely, like our services, our victim-centered approach are certainly, you know, as compared to 20 years ago, we are light years ahead. Light years, and the approach the police take, and, you know, eliminating that taboo of reporting is literally gone the way of the dodo bird. But I would not want to peg it solely on that. We are really, and that's something that we are exploring, not only as an organization, but at the, you know, right across the policing board. Like, why are we getting so many more reported sexual assaults? And we're also drilling back to our older data. How does that, because we only see year over year. And we saw, you know, during COVID for 2 years, we saw a drop off of every reported crime, a significant one. So part of the drill back is going, okay, what we are seeing now, how does that compare to what we saw 2018 and 5 years back? Like, where are the averages, and what has changed here? And also, you know, we are looking at when we are speaking with victims, we need to do it in a obviously very sensitive way and make sure it's appropriate, but, you know, also asking the question, you know, what brought you in to report? You know, we don't want to, again, we want to be very sensitive behind that, because it doesn't, the reason doesn't really matter. It is important for us and for statistically and to figure out, you know, causal factors, it is, but for our investigation and supporting that victim, it doesn't matter why they're there. It just matters that they're there, and how can we help and support them. So, sorry if that was a bit of a... Nope, that's good. Thanks, Jim.
Through the chair, I guess I bring my comments back to the initiative that I think we've spoken about previously here, where we're going to be in the schools, and there's going to be an opportunity for a firm understanding of the tolerances and the responsibilities. And I know that the few contacts that I have in the school system right now are looking forward to that. It's an increasingly challenging commitment that they have to make sure that this is implemented properly, and I think they're going to be very supportive of anything that the OPP can bring forward as far as helping them better understand how to handle this. And on top of that, I also think that in your comments with your colleagues, it'll be interesting to see if there's a demographic out there that's leading this increase, and perhaps that'll be identified through some of this process. So, thank you.
Yes, it reads that the OPP report for July to September 2023 be accepted for information purposes.
Sorry. Jim will move it, and Jamie second it. All in favor of the motion? It's carried. Next, we have 6.2, 2023 Community Initiatives Budget, use of remaining funds. Use them.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. I have some ideas that I would certainly like to throw out to the board. So first and foremost, Mr. Chair, and through you, as I mentioned, and I've tried to highlight the fantastic work that the auxiliary unit does every year. They are volunteer, they are unpaid. Every year, the auxiliary unit in December has a Christmas party, and they often pay out of their own pocket. Last year was the first year that myself and the staff sergeants actually drew from our own pocket to offset some of the costs of the meal they were having and the restaurant they were at, and so on and so forth. I would respectfully request, Mr. Chair, and with the approval of the board, $1,460 to put forth towards the auxiliary Christmas party on behalf of the board, to thank them for everything they do for the detachment and the community. That is my first suggestion. The second one, so there's a remaining $3,000. In a previous meeting, Mr. Chair, we had set aside $3,000 for, and I spoke to the OPP speed sign. It has not completed its refurbishment, and that is about the bill for the speed sign. The issue we are encountering is the body shop that we have sent it to is so swamped busy, they have not gotten to it. So they cannot guarantee a conclusion date. So I have so I would like to keep that $3,000 as in a previous meeting minutes where the board had approved that $3,000 to go towards the refurbishment of that speed sign. However, if that is not possible in this calendar year, because we're not sure, they're telling us they might get to it in November, they might not get to us in December, but they have not been able to confirm whether they'll give us a bill in 2023 or 2024. My suggestion for the board, Mr. Chair, would be that the remaining $3,000, if they are able to repair the sign, that we continue as originally planned and originally brought forth by the board. But if that's not possible and we still have the $3,000 remaining, my suggestion to the board would be that our annual food drive is coming up with the auxiliary unit, where we donate to 3 local food banks. That after that food drive, if the speed sign or we have not had any progress on it, that it be divided equally amongst the 3 food banks that we deliver to, and that when the auxiliary unit deliver the funds and food to the food banks, that a check on behalf of the Police Services Board supporting those food drives also be given.
Through the chair, just the $3,000 for the repair. What's the advantage of the sign that we're fixing as compared to the ones that are simply mounted on posts and signs that we see in the small municipalities?
So ours is on a trailer. First
Okay.
of all, that we can trailer anywhere, and we don't need a post. We can pick it up, take the wheels off it, put it on its 4, and we can put it basically on any road. Probably the main advantage, to be quite honest, Jim, is that it says OPP all over it. And because it says OPP all over it, it has a significant impact on changing driver behavior. And it has been a tool that we can deploy almost anywhere. So the counties do have, I believe it is, and Kim and Maureen, you may know for sure, I believe the counties have 9 speed spies that we call them. So pole-mounted radars that they can put, which will measure speed, but there's no digital display. I believe we don't have one. I believe we don't have any at our access that actually have a digital display. So they're only for, the ones the counties have are only for measuring speed to give us a report back. This one actually can do both. So the advantage to us is, while it's gathering data
for us to determine, you know, what type of speeds we are getting. It is also giving a digital display with OPP lit all over it. So we're not relying constantly on the counties, we're not relying constantly on the municipalities to go and put these signs up. Like if we see a problem somewhere, we have an area, we can go and put that sign up, and, you know, we don't get accurate data with it because people see, you know, our OPP labels all over it, and they automatically assume it's a photo radar, which only exists within community safety zones in Ontario.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess the reason for my question is I know in the small municipalities that there's been a lot of citizen support for those ones that we put on the edge of the villages when the traffic's coming in and leaving. So I was just querying to see what the difference between the two were. So thank you.
And there is no cost to the municipalities either. Like we deploy, the OPP deploy that as our regular duties. So if a municipality comes to us and say, hey, you know, we'd really like to see one of these at this end of Berwick or this end of Chrysler, but the municipality, it's not, you know, we don't have one available or it's not in the municipal budget, we can deploy ours. For example, the first place it will be going once it's refurbished is actually up in Chrysler. We'll be deploying it up in Chrysler, especially on the north end of, if you've been on that end and coming in to Chrysler southbound on County Road 13, there are some high speeds, and that area has been built up residentially over the years. So we really need to bring the speeds down in that area. So that's one of the techniques we're going to be using.
Read the motion, okay?
Could I ask a question? I'm not sure if we've ever done this, but if we have a quote with respect to an approximation of what it would cost to have the sign repaired, and we show that it's a demonstrated commitment to have the work done, is it something that, like I would think normally in our municipal world, we can take those funds, set them aside and carry them over into the following year if the work is not done before the end of the year?
And through you, Mr. Chair, that's something we can absolutely do. And I put this over to the county, saying if that is an acceptable practice. I just didn't know whether they wanted to see a completed work order for the calendar year and the completed work for the project.
Yeah, so I think typically as long as we have something that demonstrates we have a commitment to have it done, then we can basically expense that and use those funds as a carry forward into 2024 if the work gets done in January as opposed to December. But we can we'll talk to our treasurer about that, but that would be a way to try and make sure that in this year's budget, the funds are being spent on what the intended purpose was.
I'm completely fine with that, Mr. Chair. I can get the estimate and bring it forward to the treasurer if that is the wish of the board.
Would the board agree if we sent a letter to our all the volunteer OPP auxiliary for all the hours they volunteered when they have their get together that night, and read it to them, just to thank them for all their time? So would you write something up for that, and then on behalf of the board? Thank you. And you can read it, Mark. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for that. I know they will be tremendously appreciative of that, so I will slide a word over to the auxiliary staff sergeant just to when he's looking to come and see me, and we'll have a conversation about what we'll do.
Kimberly has all that grouped in together?
Yes, I do.
Motion.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the motion reads that the SDG Police Services Board approve the following donations to be funded from the 2023 Community Initiatives budget. SDG Auxiliary Christmas Party, $1,460, and SDG Speed Sign Repairs, $3,000.
You, Jamie said he'd move that, and Jim would second it. All in favor of the motion? It's carried. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have been going with the regular practice now where most of the property we recover or that is seized and forfeited back to the OPP, we have been going through as a motion with the board. We would be auctioning it off. We came across recently, we recovered some stolen property that was stolen from a local home hardware. It was a patio set
Home Hardware has already, Home Hardware's insurance has already replaced the patio set, and Home Hardware has signed a quick claim, turning the patio set over to us. We do not have a tremendous amount of things to go to the auction at the moment, and I know that a very close community partner of ours, Naomi House, is in need of a brand new patio set. And I was hoping that the board might approve the donation of said patio set over to Naomi House, rather than bring it on a one-time outside of our regular practice. The board might approve that, and we could turn that patio set directly over to Naomi's house.
I continue to be amazed at these meetings, to be honest. The number of connections that Mark has, and his judgment obviously fits well with all these relationships, so certainly seems like a very good thing to advance, so full support. Thank you.
The motion reads that the SDG Police Services Board approve that the recovered patio set be donated to Naomi's house.
Mover, Jamie again, and Jim, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will report back. I do have some visual content that I will, their old patio set compared to what they will be getting. I'm sure the board will be very pleased with the replacement, and I know that the executive director is very, very thankful for the support that not only the OPP but that the board shows towards a great community partner like them.
Next, we have 2024 budget on page 36.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So certainly for the budget, and just to highlight some of the accomplishments. I don't want to be too long-winded because yourself and Mayor McDonald will have heard most of this at my regular municipal meetings, but I certainly do want to highlight certainly our MCRT unit, and we are extremely fortunate and grateful for the support we get for the United Counties to make that program happen. We all recognize and know that it should be funded by the Ministry of Health, and the fact that the County Council and the board have agreed and see it as an essential part of our job now, and an essential, again, I've said it once, I'll say it a million times, there are many things we would give up at the detachment before we ever gave up our MCERT. It is an integrated portion of the OPP now. I have no other way to describe it. So we are very, very fortunate with that, and we just continue to see very positive results with the MCRT. They are busy. They are nonstop busy. I highlighted in there that, as the board is aware, that Cornwall Community Police Service, OPP, and the hospital, we did submit that business case. We were not successful for that long-term funding we were looking for, but that we did receive that $110,000 in one-time funding. I'm happy to report to the board that our latest business case has actually been updated, and they will be going back to Health East with the same business proposal. There have been no calls, but we are hopeful that, if it was successful last time, might be successful again, and we might see, another end of year funding boost to the program where we are able to once again reimburse some of the funds back to the counties. As I reported to you in April, I did apply for an MCRT enhancement grant. I found out last week of September, and they announced first week of October. So hence, it's not in my it's not in this quarter's report, but it'll be in my next quarter's report. But the detachment was successful in receiving $45,000 in enhancement funding. I would like to tell you, Mr. Chair, that that $45,000 does not include any staffing enhancements. When I went to the hospital and had discussions with them about, what does a realistic grant look like, and what does this realistically look like, again, because of the late announcement, only 5.5 months left in the fiscal year, the hospital and I said, okay, in the last 3 years of the existence of the program,
what does the MCRT actually need besides more people? And we identified 3 areas that they needed. So number 1, in 3 years' time, we were unable to send them on any type of formal training. So there is $30,000 that is set aside for formalized training. There's $10,000 that is set aside for to refurnish and revamp the MCRT office that is in the detachment. So although the OPP provides the space, we provide all sorts of things. This will actually, the hospital and I will be saying, okay, how do we make this the best office possible for the team to work in? And that will all be paid for through the grant. The final thing, as you may or may not be aware, the hospital did have a data hack about 9 months ago, and it is going to require a lot of IT upgrades at the hospital. And so in order to assist the hospital in alleviating some of those costs, there's $5,000 there for our MCERT team for them to get all new IT equipment. So the hospital will be providing the team with all new IT equipment, laptops, iPads, cell phones, all brand new, which will be compatible, immediately compatible with their new systems. So we're looking forward to that. I would like to highlight that within that grant, we wrote that grant, and same as the victim services, we actually co-wrote them a portion each with Cornwall Community Police Service. So where our grants had an overlap of some type. So in the $30,000 of training, we actually wrote to the grant where the Cornwall Community Police's team will be coming to training with us. We will be hosting it. It will come out of our funds, but it was co-written so they didn't have to write to the training portion. Because the programs are both administered at the top by the Cornwall Community Hospital, we thought why would we host the training singularly just for the OPP's team? Like, why don't we bring Cornwall Community Polices? The feedback that we got, not only from the MCERT grant, but also from the VSG grant from the ministry, was the success Cornwall and OPP had in this region was actually because of our collaboration. That's what they were looking for. They were looking for, and it's the first time in the SDG OPP and Cornwall Community Police's history, believe it or not, that we have collaborated on grants like this together, where we've actually shown a direct link to how the funds are going to be spent, either with the OPP or vice versa with the Cornwall Community Police Service. And my contacts at the ministry have said, like, that's the clincher right there. They said, they don't have a lot of other services that do that. They don't show that working relationship. So I just certainly wanted to highlight that and bring to the attention of the chair of the board that that relationship with Cornwall Community Police Service, probably we have never had a stronger relationship with them. So just taking you down the document. Again, I think you've heard me praise absolutely praise the auxiliary unit, but again, something to highlight for County Council on the budget, just the absolute engagement that we get from the auxiliary unit and everything they do. And I certainly, Mr. Chair, I wanted to highlight to County Council and to the counties. I did put in a portion there about the board's participation in helping me draft our detachment strategic plan. I'm very happy to report that the reports are about to be published, fully approved, and that the feedback that we got about our report was one of the best, and that the OPP was thrilled that you yourself and the other members of the board and Madam CAO, you guys gave that input. That was very, very important to the OPP. They saw that as really that community link and that community voice being added to the action plan. So I certainly wanted to highlight that I wanted that to be highlighted when this report goes to County Council. I also put the portion in where you will actually be the only board in East Region to complete a detachment commander evaluation. And I know my chief and superintendent are eagerly awaiting to see not just the results, but actually see the product itself, because it's something that they want to encourage other boards to do when the new CSPA comes into effect
hopefully next year. Just highlighting again, traffic, trail, and marine safety. I will tell you, I will just highlight, the trails and the trail and the marine safety portion. Again, we are trending on years now without a serious personal injury, collision, or fatal collision, whether it's on the seaway or on any of our trails. We've really stepped up our proactive patrols. Both of our vessels were out there for a lot of hours. When we look at 1,263 hours, I don't know if you ever spent an 8-hour day on a continuously moving boat on the St. Lawrence Seaway, but that is a long day out there. Like, you got to have some pretty good sea legs to be out there traversing the seaway and interacting. I know I went out for 4 hours, and I don't have good sea legs. Let's just say that. So I just wanted to highlight that. When we talk about 10 rescues, Mr. Chair, in case council asks, these weren't person rescues, these were vessel rescues, where in certain circumstances when vessels become disabled because of the strong currents in the St. Lawrence, because of obviously it's an international shipping lane, when vehicles become disabled, although the OPP highly discourages towing of other vessels, we won't leave anybody stranded out there. Like, we will get them to a place of safety. That's just a responsibility that I have told the Marine unit, no, you shall do this. And if there's something happens, the boats come into contact, I said that will be for me to answer to the higher ups and explain to them why this isn't a lake, where a single boat is on. This is the St. Lawrence Seaway we're dealing with here. It's a bit of a different beast. So you're already aware of the conclusion of the Hope Springs Eternal grant. I've spoken about the Victim Services grant, and I've just spoken once again to that collaboration with Victim Services and with the Cornwall Community Police Service. Just to let you know that the portion that we wrote to with the Cornwall Community Police Service has to do with training as well. So we jointly wrote to hosting joint training that we will be hosting. We are just in the process of finishing our final agenda, and we will be setting a firm date. The plan is, Mr. Chair, just so you know, is that we have agreed amongst our steering committees that whoever hosts the training, we will use a car. So, for example, if the training is hosted within the city of Cornwall, the caterer and outside contractors will come from the counties, and vice versa. So if we host the training in the counties, we will use caterers and contractors from within the city, just so to make sure we're spreading the funds of the grant out evenly. And it's not, I realize there's a lot of services in Cornwall and a lot of venues and so on and so forth, but we have those available in the counties as well, and we would like to spread that wealth out and be able to demonstrate that back to the ministry, because it's something that's important to them as well, that those funds are spent locally, especially because part of our report will come back joint and almost mirrored. So we want to make sure that we do that. Accolades and recognitions before the meeting began, Mr. Chair. I was telling yourself and Jim that South Stormont Township, we will be using the building to host the East Region Awards ceremony on November 21st. I have provided a list of the members at the detachment we have the most that will be receiving awards, either for exemplary service. You can see that we have members that will be receiving life-saving, Commissioner's Citation for bravery. So we have quite a few members that will be getting some very, very prestigious once-in-a-lifetime awards, and I just wanted to highlight that to County Council, because I think it goes to show, you may not hear about all the fantastic work that people are doing throughout their career. Some of the stuff doesn't come in the papers, doesn't show up in the papers, but I can tell you that, that the officers that are receiving their bravery award, they jumped into a swamp neck high to keep the female that was involved in a motor vehicle collision, to keep her head above water. And it took all 4 of them to hold her up
and her head high enough up until the fire department could get there and rip the doors off because the car was partially submerged in a ditch, and that was never reported on. There's nothing, that's never going to come out in the papers, and that's quite incredible because, they put their lives at peril, and, and I'm sure we've all been swimming before, and you've all been in a ditch before. They're not all the same height. They're not all 6'2" either. We've got a couple guys that are 5'7", and, 5 standing in your tippy toes in a muddy ditch, right? Like, they're definitely putting their lives at significant risk. So I certainly wanted to highlight that and just the good work that all the members are doing. And I will pass on to Mr. Chair, if I could give the floor to Kimberly. She will speak about the 2023 budget impacts.
Sure, thank you. Mr. Chair, through you, if I could turn your attention to page 36 of your agenda package, and I'll just give a brief overview of the proposed draft 2024 police budget. Looking first at the police services revenue, we've included our standard annual items within this section of the draft budget. That provincial funding line, you'll note, that's the additional victim services grant that the OPP were successful in securing, and also the MCRT enhancement portion for 2024 as well. You'll note the alarm program revenue. We're moving into year 1 of the 3-year cycle of the program, so we will see registration revenue increase this year. Moving down to expenses, the alarm program line. This includes wages, mileage, training, and office supplies and equipment and internet for our part-time alarm program coordinator. This program is a break-even program, so if there's a surplus at the end of the year with the additional revenue from year 1 of the program, we'll move that into a reserve to fund the program going forward for future years. The RIDE program victim services line, these are these grant amounts that are included in the budget for 2024. The mobile crisis response team, we have moved $120,000 to fund this program from the council donations budget where it's typically lived over the past few years. We've moved this now to a permanent line item within the police services budget. There's an additional $9,000 included for 2024, and this is just stemming from that mobile crisis response team enhancement grant. The OPP contract, we did receive the 2024 billing statement at the end of September. Contract costs year over year are increasing slightly by $41,632, but we still see a quite lower fee for our contract costs looking back at the past 3 years. In 2023, there was a decrease of over $230,000 in our contract. You'll note, though, in the billing statement, there is a 2022 cost reconciliation. We will be applying that to 2023, though. That $86,000 will be applied to the 2023 budget. It won't affect our 2024 budget moving forward. Police Services Board expenses, this includes board wages, mileage, meetings and conferences, and office supplies. And then looking at the memberships, legal and audit fees, this includes our board's OAPSB membership and our annual audit fees here at the county. Through you, Mr. Chair, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Yep, the motion reads that the draft 2024 budget be approved as presented and forwarded for consideration to the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry.
Thank you. All in favor? Oh, I need a mover. Jamie and Jim, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Excuse me. Just want to, on behalf of the board and our staff members today, I just want to congratulate you for your 20 years of exemplary service award. It's nice to see that. I can't believe you've been there 20 years already.
I can't believe I've been with the OPP for 20 years either.
Yeah.
It's every time I think about it, and every time my wife and I discuss that in 9.5, actually it'll be 9 in January, that's all I've got left till I'm eligible for retirement. Like I just can't believe how it has flown by. And to my, as I told you, Mr. Chair, and I've told Mayor McDonald, like, that we are already at 2.5 years that I will have been the detachment commander in SDG. Like, it is just, the time has just flown. It has just flown, but hey, what do they say? If you're having fun at what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life.
And also, I want to point out to Jamie that under bravery, you see a McGillis one there. Don't forget. Under bravery, you see the last name McGillis. Don't forget that. Here it comes. Yes, there is. Jamie, Randy's a cousin of mine, and Steve, his brother.
Yeah, Randy will be retiring actually at the end of November. He will have completed his 30s, so this will actually be a very, very nice for him. 8 days before he goes, before his last shift, he will be recognized for this award of bravery in front of the commissioners. So and it will coincide nicely with his retirement party that'll be on the Friday as well. So we'll be able to celebrate in many ways for him.
It reads that the SDG Police Services Board proceed in camera pursuant to Section 34(4)(b) of the Police Services Act. Intimate financial or personal matters or other matters may be disclosed of such a nature having regard to the circumstances that the desirability of avoiding their disclosure in the interest of any person affected or in the public interest outweighs the desirability of adhering to the principle that proceedings be open to the public for a matter related to Detachment Commander Performance Review.
Thank you. Mover? Jim and Jamie second it. All in favor of the motion? It's carried. Thank you.